He got the bag. How's Maxfield and Chang for Sidewinder highlights then?
Chip's also like key today. Right.
Truck is waiting outside the gates to feed you. They are generously donating 10% of sales today to the Sidewinders. If you enjoy their food, please consider leaving them a 5-star review on Google. A big thank you to Mountain View High School and everyone in attendance, including and especially our volunteers and staff, working tirelessly and passionately to bring you this event. Fans, the bathrooms to the east side or right-hand side of the bleachers are closed for maintenance. Please make use of the bathrooms on the left side of the bleachers. They are in the beige building with the red stripe at the top. There are signs that say restrooms. Follow the signs as you go down the bleachers to make use of the open restrooms. Thank you. Hey fans, if you're new to watching the game of Ultimate, here's some things you'll need to know. 7 players from each team attempt to catch the disc in the opposing end zone for a goal. A defensive line starts each point with a throw, called the pull, to the receiving team. Players cannot run with the disc. They aim to keep possession by throwing the disc to their teammates and advancing toward their opponent's end zone. The disc is blocked, intercepted, or hits the ground. It is a turnover, and the other team gets a chance to score. Today we'll be playing by the 2023 Western Ultimate League rule set. There will be 4 12-minute quarters. When a player has possession of the disc with a mark on, they have only 7 seconds to move the disc. And when the quarter ends, play will continue until the current possession ends. In a few minutes, we'll announce our rosters.
We go in 5, 4, 1.
Welcome to Phoenix for the final home game for the Arizona Sidewinders in the 2023 WUL season, where the Sidewinders are going to face off against the San Diego Super Bloom. I'm Michael Simeone.
Joined in the booth by Will Hopkins. It's a beautiful day out here for some ultimate frisbee.
Yeah, Will, last time we were in the booth, we talked about how great the weather was. And while the weather's not awful, I can't help but notice it's a little bit hotter today.
It certainly is a step up. We're getting into the true spring has sprung days out here, and curious to see how that affects playing. I did get the opportunity to go down and check out the turf. It is scorching down there. You're going to want to keep your feet moving pretty quickly if you're playing today, and we'll see how it goes for both these teams.
Temperatures in the 80s this afternoon with intermittent clouds. A nice day for Arizona, not so nice day for other parts of the country. As we kind of tune in and start thinking about what each team is going to look to get out of this, Will, I'm struck by the narrow margins that Arizona has lost to in the last couple games. What do you think they're going to aim for in their last home game of the season?
Yeah, well, it certainly is quite the turnaround of their season midway through. They come off a victory against Seattle Tempest, the defending league champions, defending undefeated league champions, and then go on the road and fall flat against two very good teams. So I think for the Sidewinders today, the key is really just to find their identity, find that momentum, and pick back up where they left off at home, because they have not been at home since that win streak was snapped.
Let's take a look at some of the particularities of the WUL rules as we set the table today for the live stream. Will, some differences in the WUL rule set than maybe some other Ultimate that folks might have watched?
Absolutely. So we're going to be operating throughout the season with 2 different divisions instead of 4, which you might see in some other leagues. At the end of the season, those two divisions will come together, or 2 conferences rather, will come together, play in a singular bracket, knockout competition against each other. Right now, we're just kind of focused on the win-loss record. There isn't too much parity within the league right now in terms of standings, but as time goes on, you see there the parameters for how the standings will be broken down moving forward if we were to end up in a tie situation, which we got awfully close to at the end of last season.
Yeah, and this point differential is something that I think maybe people aren't used to seeing all the time, but point differential in WUL is a big deal, that it can make the difference between, say, the Sidewinders finals bid last year. It can make the difference in the standings. Conferences are new this year for the WUL.
Yep.
Where you have a Southwest and a Northwest conference, and so you want to be in the top 2 of that conference in order to advance. So there's a lot to play for at the down the stretch of a lot of these games. We'll see fourth quarter with, say, some of the teams that have played earlier with, say, Wild and Alpenglow, or Wild and Seattle, Alpenglow and Seattle. And in the fourth quarter, there's still a lot to play for in those games. The point differential is big. We need to watch wire to wire here, because there's a chance that Sidewinders and Super Bloom are both going to be contending to try to be in those top 2.
Absolutely. And this Southwest, after the Sidewinders' 2 losses last weekend, this Southwest is anyone's game. It really appears that this is the more competitive of the 2 conferences, at least looking at it as it stands right now. So you're absolutely right that every single point could end up mattering once playoff time rolls around.
Yeah, and we're taking a look, speaking of now the Southwest Conference, a team that's really risen to the top. After dropping a disappointing one versus Seattle, this Super Bloom team, they turned right around and won a close one against the Onyx, and they've just not looked back. They've looked terrific ever since.
Absolutely, and this team is led by some terrific downfield cutting. Obviously, at the professional level, you're going to have great handlers, but a lot of these players do a really good job of finding open spaces. In particular, Dana Elimelech, the San Diego alumni who lit up the college world, is now getting to do it on the professional stage. So very exciting to get the opportunity to see this team participate this year, or in this game.
Yeah, in the game against Seattle in particular, the game against the Onyx, we saw Elimelech play all kinds of roles. She was going downfield, she was throwing the disc, she was coming back into the backfield for late stall count resets. Her and Mesner, in my mind, do an awful lot for that team downfield, and they're very dominant tandem right now.
Absolutely. This San Diego team isn't anything to scoff at on any level, but it's certainly when you're talking about their top end, this might be one of the best teams in the league.
Sidewinders now taking the field. Will, when you think about the Sidewinders personnel, and we're going to mention this a few times, they're without Paige Applegate, who is one of their, at least in their home games, the last time we tuned in, Applegate was a big part of that backfield.
And it appears Applegate
is actually activated today.
On the field there, number 7 you can see. And her and Chip Chang really create one of the most dynamic duos in terms of handlers in the league. The chemistry that those two display is on another level from a lot of other duos. They play very similar styles, and both new additions to Arizona this year. They stepped in immediately and were able to make an instant impact. So it's going to be very exciting to see them back in Arizona in another home game and get to see what this duo can do.
Yeah, and Applegate and Chang play so smart. They were able to maintain possession and play very patient ultimate in their first 2 games. But missing Applegate for that middle stretch on the road, you could tell holding onto the disc in the dump set became more difficult for the Sidewinders. Now that Applegate is back in the lineup, it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out against the San Diego Super Bloom team.
Yeah, you have a wide variety of handlers on this team. You also, right there at the front of the line, number 4, Carly Steiner, Northern Arizona alum, is known for making the smart huck and can hit just about anywhere on the field with her throws. So very experienced group here, and a group of players that bring a wide variety of skill sets in. Also of highlight is Caroline O'Connell, highlighted because last games without Applegate, she would fall back into the handler set. So we're curious to see if that's a role that she'll continue to occupy, or if she's going to go back to her normal role of downfield cutting, or maybe a little mix of the two. It's certainly curious to see how the Sidewinders will manage having all of their players back at full strength.
Yeah, we can ask the question of how is Arizona going to try to defend Dina Elimelech and Bree Messner? What are the personnel they're going to go with to try to slow them down? And in the meantime, how are the Super Bloom going to try to jam up the Sidewinders in the backfield? Because that looks like a place to apply pressure and get results on the Sidewinders right now, is really pressure them on their backfield action. Be interesting to see the look that the Super Bloom takes.
Absolutely.
I would pause for a moment for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. We take a moment to consider the many legacies of displacement, migration, and settlement that bring us here today. Thank you, fans and players. For our coin toss today, we would like to welcome a very special guest, Gaba Ghul. Gaba is approaching their 14th year as an entertainer here in the Valley. Gaba is an award-winning show director who enjoys the sound of obnoxious laughter. Gaba's finest memories is when they were selected to be a cartoon character featured along global queer legends and drag queen royalty. Find Gaba around the stadium today and purchase a sticker or make a donation to the Mixed Phoenix Pride Education Fund. After the Sidewinders after party, you can catch them tonight at Boycott Bar at 8 p.m. for Talk of the Town. Gaba Ghul will now complete our coin toss. Our observers today are Paul Otto and Joycey Ma. The San Diego Super Bloom have won the toss. San Diego has elected to defer. Arizona will be receiving the disc at the left end of the field.
Their backfield tested right away.
Absolutely, and I wonder if that's part of San Diego's mindset coming into this game, is just to test what has proven to be a little bit of a weakness for the Sidewinders in recent games. Come out and give Applegate, like we mentioned, missing for down the stretch of that last road trip, so really force her to address that absence right off the bat, see if she's a little rusty. I also wonder if San Diego is going to be looking to throw some junky zone, just something to throw off the initial Sidewinder rhythm at the beginning of this game. It feels like if you can get Arizona flustered early, that was the problem in both of their losses so far this season, is having to come from behind is not where the Sidewinders want to be. So you have to wonder if that's something that San Diego might be looking to do here.
Yeah, I agree. And another thing that's been the story of Arizona's season so far has been their block to conversion ratio. Arizona doesn't seem to have a problem with coming up with stops, but they do seem to struggle in stretches to come up with something after they've got the disc on those defensive stops. And so it'll be interesting to see how they're able to do that today against the San Diego Super Blue.
Absolutely, and now we're going to take a look at this Arizona Sidewinders roster. Like we mentioned, Chip Chang, number 40, and Paige Applegate, number 7, likely to get the start here as the two handlers. Curious to see who else will come out. We've seen Helen Eifert, one of the captains, play a huge role on both offense and defense this year. Megan Maxfield, another player who could go both ways. It really is, it feels like a coin flip as to who this team will roll with at any given moment, as this roster is just so deep.
Yeah, and a big loss with 22, Lindsay Doyle, who is captain this year, but recovering from injury and not playing today. You know, Doyle's so dominant downfield. They've got to be missing that presence this season so far.
Absolutely. Whenever you have a player who you can throw a huck and prayer to, you really like having players like that on just about any team at any level. The player who you know you can throw a deep 50-50 to and make it more of a 60-40 in your favor. So you're absolutely going to be missing that.
Speaking of which, let's talk about the San Diego Super Bloom. And speaking of turning a 50-50 into a 60-40, I think this starts with Dina Eli-Melik and some of the effort that she's put in this season, looking great. But I also really want to call attention to Kelly Iwamoto's game. Mm-hmm. She has been rock solid this season, maintaining possession, making excellent decisions. She's been a terrific contributor to this team. Absolutely,
and when you have a handler like her who you can trust, you get the disc to them. I know that's kind of the role that you play on most of your club teams, where it's you can just get the disc to that one person. You know that the turnover will not come. You have absolute faith. That's just something that every roster needs, and I know it's something that San Diego Super Bloom is very grateful to have.
Yeah. Now, San Diego is without Kristen Pajunas today, who is one of those players who is nearly unstoppable, but can also throw it deep. You know, we talked about the possession game and the kind of smart, calculating breakthrows that Iwamoto is able to execute from her position on the field. Just as important to their attack is some of these downfield cutters like Pajunas, like Eli-Melik, who are able to come in and then throw it deep.
Mm-hmm. Well, absolutely, and we've talked about how the top end of this San Diego roster might be some of the one of the best in the league if it was just a game of 2-on-2. But this is a full 7-on-7 game. Games do get long, so you have to wonder if how big depth will play a factor. And really, we're going to get to see a side of this San Diego Super Bloom roster that we haven't seen too much before. We're going to get to see who steps up, who thrives under that pressure, who might crumble. It is really curious to see what this matchup will bring.
San Diego to pull and get us started this afternoon as we kick off the first quarter in today's final home game for the Arizona Sidewinders in the 2023 season.
Your favorite women are about to play your favorite world. Let's give it up for
I have to wonder how long it'll take to score the first point. So far, the WUL games this season, we've seen a lot of jitters, taking maybe 5-6 points for the first. Let's see if the Sidewinders can score quickly and cleanly.
And there, the Sidewinders were a little too into their pre-point speech, it seemed, as they didn't realize the pull had gone up.
Here is Chang working with Applegate, who looks sure-footed at the beginning. Sidewinders advancing. This is to Eifert, and it's going
to ensure that Nora Landry would not get a play on the disc there. Great job That's one of the cleanest breaks we've seen. And just, you posed the question of how long that opening break would take. It just takes 1 minute and 4 seconds.
Not long.
Not long at all. So now it's curious to see how Arizona will recover from that. We mentioned earlier that they are not the best team when it comes to playing from behind, so they'll be very desperate to erase this lead quickly.
You know, we could see early on Arizona wanted to push the pace. You saw it on an early flip pass, an attempt to get to Chang. Didn't work out that time. But if early indicators mean anything at all, looks like Arizona's going to try to push the pace on offense.
Absolutely.
Not get bogged down in that in any kind of backfield defense, trying to pin them down. It looks like they're going to try to move. Let's see. Second point of the game, San Diego to pull.
It'll be curious to see who guards who here. I saw Ellie Melik was guarding Chip Chang there on the opening pull, so that's a matchup that if you're San Diego, you have to feel really good about exploiting if there is a turn.
Applegate. Chang sending it wide to Eifert. Actually sending it to the open side to Eifert. Moving quickly now.
A little bit of a junky look here.
That's bobbled. Pass intended for Applegate. Now it's going to go up. And Diaz has got it.
And this is exactly how the Super Bloom would have wanted this game to begin. Just moving the disc quickly after turns, not allowing Arizona to reset, and catching a lot of Arizona players in matchups that are unfavorable.
Yeah, a terrific pressure by Diaz. She knew she wanted to put pressure on the backfield immediately, took right off. She was open. This is a terrific opening for the San Diego Super Bloom. Absolutely.
And if you're Arizona, there's a question of when's that first timeout call? When do you kind of try to reset everything? It's just been 1 minute and 40 seconds and already down 2-0.
Yeah, we're reminded of a whole quarter against the Astra, I believe.
Yep.
Where they didn't score at all.
Absolutely.
And so these offensive woes for the Sidewinders got to be at the top of mind here for the coaching staff as they try to recover.
And Arizona has a very strong D-line. You can throw players like Cody Lippincott, Carly Steiner, Megan Maxfield out there and see, and they'll create something for you, but it's impossible to get your D-line on the field if your O-line keeps getting broken like this.
Indeed. Sidewinders looking to receive. Going to try to make it 2-1. Short pull. Applegate to pick up. Looks like a horizontal stack. Eifert in control. She's got Kalagus Belair. She goes by K-Spot. Applegate breaking throw. And that looks like Megan Maxfield is ready to collect that one. Looking for a dump, and Applegate is there. Arizona looking a little bit more in rhythm. Clock winding down. Chang. Applegate's going to go for a hammer, and she finds Eifert.
And that is a beautiful hammer, high arcing perfectly to the back of the end zone. Helen Eifert didn't even have to worry about getting her toes down. That was a great throw by Paige Applegate. Also, if I could bring the attention back to Megan Maxfield there, who received the disc on the front of the end zone. Very great value play.
Sidewinders have been very good at generating blocks so far. Super Bloom.
Curious to see Caitlin Doust on this near side matching up with Diaz. Will that be a matchup that Doust can handle?
Ellie Melik now on the in-cut. She's going to send it back across. Finding Ellie Melik again. Just working this near sideline. Finding a hole here in the defense. Sidewinders are playing tight, but a step faster every time is the Super Bloom. That's going to go to the backhand side. Ellie Melik, checked by Lippincott. Quick upline cut there. Looks like there's a pick call.
And one thing so far that Arizona's doing really well is preventing that downfield throw. San Diego's cutters are clearing out of the space by looking to go deep.
San Diego punching it into Diaz. Douse selling out to try to stop that one. Too much space
and it looked
for
like,
Diaz.
It looked like she might have just missed that. This San Diego team's speed is proving to be troublesome for Arizona so far. As we see their offensive strategy is to send players deep, try and create space that way, and that also opens up a lot of the underlanes, which is what San Diego did such a good job of taking advantage of there.
Yeah, and Avery Jones for the Super Bloom, who is playing in their backfield, has done a terrific job on these last couple sequences of maintaining possession and really just slicing the defense open with a break throw where appropriate, finding some kind of skinny angles in there, but it really cracked the defense open on the Sidewinder, what is marked as the 40-yard line on their side of the field. She had a couple throws there that really unlocked that defense.
Absolutely. It really is just how dominant those undercuts were, how easy they made breaking through that defense look. It's going to be a tall task to get a break here for Arizona, it looks like.
Yeah, if we're looking at early usage, we got Ellie Melik 2 times on that open side. Here's Cheng for Arizona. She's got Applegate making a sweeping cut. Applegate going to think about the break side. Cheng, inside out throw to Garrett. Garrett, who has been so good this season. Cheng inside out to Applegate. Applegate rolling to the ground. She's got it. In the middle for Landry. Landry to Garrett again. Back to Landry, who finds O'Connell. O'Connell's so dangerous with her throws. She's going to put it up for Garrett. Garrett's got it.
And that's the danger of leaving of someone like Garrett's speed.
Arizona 6 minutes to go in the first quarter. We've got a nice game going here, but I don't see any kind of defensive traction yet on the part of Arizona against San Diego. Do you, Will?
I do not. This feels like an old Big 12 football game. You know, you're sitting there.
It's just all offense?
All offense. Final score 56-49.
Let's see what we can do. Helton to deliver. Applegate to Cheng. K-Spa. K-Spa to Eifert. Looks like a side stack Will, and they've gotten a lot out of it now that Garrett's in the middle of the field with Cheng, and now back to K-Spa. K-Spa's not afraid to put an away pass. She's going to go back and look for Applegate. Slightly late bid by San Diego there.
It looks like the ref's going to award a card for that.
That's going to be a yellow card for number 12 on San Diego. That's Neha Weingunker. And it's going to be a turn. Avery Jones, we just talked about her handling. How about her defense? Got the stop there for her team.
Feels like K-Spa might have just rushed that throw just a little bit.
Caitlin Kaiser, also known as Shoes, and a friend of the booth, came up with that stop. Here's Applegate. And a consequential possession here. Cheng to Garrett. Can she get it? Overthrown.
And it looked like Cheng might have thought Garrett was going to make that cut a little steeper towards the end zone rather than towards the sideline. Just a little miscommunication there.
Arizona needs to be careful here. They've still got a game if they can score here, but giving up a big early advantage if they get scored on here. Here's Gazelle against Helton. Two great athletes. Helton coming down with that one.
And it looks like San Diego is going to take a timeout here to possibly get their O-line on. Like you said, they might just smell blood in the water here. They might realize how big an early advantage here would be.
Yeah, Arizona would be happy at this point to walk off the field with a 4-5 score. They've looked a little out of sorts so far.
Yeah, curious to see if Arizona will opt to sub on their D-line, and as it looks like they will. You have to wonder if there's going to be any changes made, any tactical adjustments here, because this D-line just hasn't looked like they have any answers for San Diego.
Sometimes you can go to the notebook and find an answer, but sometimes the other players are just real fast.
Yeah, that is one of the downsides of opponents being very fast.
San Diego now coming out of timeout, trying to maximize their chance to get some separation on Arizona. They watch game film. They watch other games. They know Arizona can close a 3 or 4 break gap in just half of a quarter. I don't think they want to mess around with that kind of situation. A point early is Going to be real important to them. Here's Jones. Vertical stack-ish for the Super Bloom. 4 minutes, 16 to go in the quarter. Here's San Diego on offense. Diaz sending it to Helton. It's going to be a committee meeting in the end zone. Helton's got it.
Yeah, and that was one thing about Helton, and it was mentioned earlier, such terrific awareness and body control, understanding where to put her body. You have one of the best deep defenders, Cynthia Thomas, behind you in that situation, and Helton just puts her body perfectly between the two players and the disc, and there's nothing you can do about that if you're the defense.
Yeah, both defenders, I think, played the space that they had been given pretty well, but nothing beats a perfect high point.
It's very difficult when you're a couple inches shorter and not in position to make a play on the disc.
Sidewinders back on offense.
Hey fans, don't forget to
San Diego leads 6-3. 4 minutes, 5 seconds to go in this first quarter. Arizona needs an answer.
While you're there, grab some poster board and
Yeah, it'll be
markers
crucial
and
to
make a sign for
turn this
your
game
favorite
around
player.
quickly if you're Arizona. We've seen how losing early momentum for this team can be very damaging to their psyche.
Well, that said, I think Arizona sometimes can appear to be a different team in every quarter.
That's true.
Though I think it's kind of a news story every time. I think as long as this doesn't get to 5-6 break difference, we're going to be at the edge of our seat till the end. Here's Applegate. Sending it to Chang. Chip Chang to Landry. Back to Applegate. Thrown a little behind her. Eifert tries to save it. Can't make it happen. Another quick pass at a not quite catchable angle, Will. And now San Diego's back in control. Looking for a dump swing action. Garrett covering Ellie Mellick for a good portion of that sequence, but she finally gets free. Now San Diego knocking on the door of the end zone line. 2 cuts up line. We're going to try to space behind it. Ellie Mellick has got it with a horrific diving catch. I'm not sure if they drew it up that way, Will, but I'm sure they're happy to see it happen.
Well, when you have Ellie Mellick on your roster, do you expect any less? Just kind of throw it, see what it works out for you, and sometimes it very much will.
I thought for sure they were going to try to swing that back across the field given the congestion, but they found a way. San Diego now up 6-3 with 7-3. Forgive me. 3 minutes 14 to go.
Yeah, and we're starting to get to that range where if you're the Sidewinders, you might be getting a little bit nervous about closing this gap. You did mention how awesome this offense can be in spurts, but from here it's going to have to be they're going to have to start streaking. And with the defense struggling as much as they appear to have been throughout this first quarter, you can't wait for them to find answers.
Yeah, at this point, I think if you're the Sidewinders, you're just going to try to reel this team in over 3 quarters. You know, you've got 3 quarters left. The deficit is significant, but you don't have to get it all at once. Kaiser, Shoes, to Steiner, to Dunn. A little bit of a different look here on offense for the Sidewinders. Steiner to Dunn. We've got Douse streaking deep. They're going to be careful. Maintain possession. This is Kay Powell, who's sending it back to Shoes. A little bit of junk coverage. Looks a little zony, a little draggy. Kez Gazelle to the turf. She's got a gainer for her team. Working left to right, the Arizona Sidewinders. Steiner with an unforced error there. Reasonable field position for Arizona.
Yeah, it looked like Helton might have just gotten a hand on that throw from Shoes.
That's Helton streaking deep. Helton now to Mesner, who can't come up with it, but a terrific diving attempt.
Like we said, sometimes it'll work out, and then other times it just simply won't.
Other times it won't. Arizona now with a fresh chance, but they're on their own goal line. Worked it well in the last possession, but for Helton's fingertips. Kaiser doing a good job with the mark by Helton. And Steiner's just going to send it to Gazelle. Gazelle not quite able to get it, but what a vision by Steiner. She was wide open.
Absolutely. If you just put a little more OI dip on that, that's a completion, and it's a great vision by Steiner to find that throw.
Sidewinders putting some pressure on by field position. It's a terrific break. San Diego now operating, looking in control. They're able to swing the disc really well. Here's an open upline cut, but they'll hold on to it for now. San Diego moving it right down the field, and they're in the red zone now. Easy combinations for them. Backfield looks nearly unmarked. It looks like there's a collision on the field, and the play will stop.
And one thing that San Diego is doing so well right now to create all these opportunities is their break throws. They're swinging the disc with great efficiency to the break side once they get an opportunity.
Here's Penny Wu with a dart to the end zone. And a goal for Jory Moore.
With just 48 seconds to go here in the quarter, it'll be curious to see what this next Arizona O-line does. Do they try to kill clock and then work their way up?
Yeah, Penny Wu is a player who, against the Onyx, demonstrated so much control over the game. And you can see in that sequence the same thing happening all over again. Just such a strong handler, and there are many times where she just looked basically unmarked, and you just can't do it with a player like that who's got the throws that she has and who sees the field like she does. She comes up with the assist.
And it looked like Arizona might have had a little bit of trouble adjusting after that pick call. It looked like it was Doust who was supposed to be guarding, but a little discombobulation after that collision, and now that might be one goal that we're looking back at later is a breaking point.
Certainly Arizona defense looking to reclaim some of their efficacy from previous matches. Arizona back on offense. Scores marked at 3-7. We've got 40 seconds to go in the quarter. A reminder that play stops when there's a turnover or score after time expires in the WUL. Here's O'Connell. She's going to try to find K-Spa. It looks a little short. Ellie Mellick's happy to grab that one. And we're off and running. That's Iwamoto to Ellie Mellick.
Looks like there was a foul called there on the throw.
O'Connell says, I can throw a lot further than that.
I believe her. I did like that look, the throw, possibly because of a foul, as I'm sure that's what this discussion is about, but that look is certainly something that the Sidewinders would be happy to get.
Yeah, K-Spa is such a difficult player to guard. She makes such good decisions when she's got the disc, and she's pretty powerful downfield. So it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't. Here's Landry on Iwamoto. Chang on defense. San Diego, nice swing pass here. Back to Iwamoto. And now they're right back. Helton. They're just going to attack that sideline, and then once that achieves that pressure, they're just going to go right back across to the break side. Here's Ellie Mellick. Break side attack, it's a goal.
And that was the possession that time expired for, so that's the end of the first quarter. And if you're San Diego, there's not much that you'd rather have going on right now, leading 3-9.
I can't think of a better quarter of Ultimate that we've seen out of the WUL this year, actually, than watching what San Diego just put down in this first quarter.
Absolutely. They came in with a game plan. They've executed thus far. Maybe some of what's happened hasn't quite been what they were looking to do. My mind goes immediately to that front corner bid from Eli Melik, but certainly if you're San Diego, you couldn't have hoped for a better start to this game.
Yeah, a couple sequences I think they have stitched together with their athleticism, but I don't think they've been overly reliant on their athleticism. I think, from up here, it looks like their decision-making has been really fundamental. It looks like they've been able to work the field left to right, and it looks like their defense has been not smothering, but applying enough pressure to where Arizona is starting to make some mistakes that we don't see them normally make at this phase of the game.
Absolutely. And that dump set, which was the big question for us coming in, has not had the same consistency as it did during opening weekend of the WUL season, like many might have hoped for Arizona. But now it's just, can Arizona pull this back together? I think you're not going to make up that ground in the second quarter. No. It's going to be about, can you slowly put together a couple of good points, score a few times on offense, maybe get one defensive break, and then just prove to yourself that you can do this, that you can have that consistency. That's all that has to be going through everybody's head right now, is just put together a couple consistent possessions, let the defense get a break, get two, and then we can start talking about how to come back into this game. But it's really going to be a matter of finding that self-belief right now for Arizona.
I think for San Diego, on the other side of the field, they go through a much smaller list of players for the majority of their sequences, and it's 85 degrees out there on the turf. That is not a San Diego temperature for April. It'll be interesting to see if they can last the distance here. I mean, their team has been athletically dominant on just about every game that they've played. But it'll be interesting to see if they're able to maintain the same level of intensity and pressure down the stretch in this third quarter and this fourth quarter. I think that's their agenda for the rest of the game, is, try to hold on as best as possible given the conditions.
And I can tell you that I got to go down to that turf before the game. It does not feel like 85 degrees. It feels closer to triple digits, if anything. So
that's right. And, for some places, the sun kind of feels like a careless whisper, but here in Arizona, the sun feels like it's roosting on your shoulder. Arizona, starting off the second quarter, they're on defense, looking to get a block. Here's San Diego. San Diego operating out of the middle with a nice high release. And it looks like that's going to be a stop. Dunn came through Diaz. Crowd not happy with that foul call.
The Arizona fans are letting you know how they feel about that one. Personally, I didn't see too much contact on there. I'm sure there might have been a little touch on the shoulder.
We'll bring it to the observers, and they'll make a determination.
Now, if Arizona does come up with the block here, and it looks like Diaz is retracting the call. So now it's about Arizona. This is, I believe, the first time their D-line's getting a chance to play some offense. So
there's Steiner, and it's hand blocked. Melissa Merrick can't quite save it.
You got to wonder if Diaz might be saying disc don't lie in this situation.
Rebecca Ellis with that hand block. And now looks really strong. It looks like that one hit the turf. But they're going to play on, and that's going to be a block.
And the observers are calling for a stoppage on that original. Personally, I didn't think it did hit the turf. And this is...
Looks like the determination as it's gone back. Pandemonium here with some calls.
Gotta love it. This is one of the reasons you love Ultimate Frisbee, is all the players are put in a position where they have to be honest with each other.
It looks like the observers are going to change the position where we're going to be picking up.
Maybe not. Maybe the defense wasn't set before that.
I think that was a
tap back in.
violation, yes. Here's Jones operating well. She's been terrific today. San Diego never not attacking up line, putting a ton of pressure on the Sidewinders. And now it's just going to be a break side option here. Hauled in by San Diego. Another nice combination by them. That's Jessica Wan, who made herself available on the break side and demonstrated some pretty good concentration on this play.
And we see Myland here go up. Wan maybe initially misread it. Maybe was trying to fake out her defender. But either way, great read of the disc. And San Diego has really opened up this lead here early in the second quarter.
San Diego looking particularly strong.
And it's been a whole team effort, it feels like, for San Diego. There's no one player that you can really key in on. I know we were talking at the beginning of the game about some of their big players, but it's by no means been one player.
Yeah, I mean, Ellis on that play got the hand block, and then her activity in the handler set made life very difficult for Arizona when they were trying to play defense. Overloaded that one side, and then what do we have on the other? Wide open break opportunity.
Absolutely. And it's got to be a little demoralizing for the Arizona D-line, as that is the first turn they have forced this game, and to turn it over immediately.
Applegate on offense. Arizona looking to find their balance. Can't quite get it there. Goes out of Chang's hands. You see Helton cruising downfield, and if you're Arizona, that's very disturbing. Here's Helton. She's on what looks like the break side, and she's just going to work it back to the open side. She's got it again. Landry in tow. Break side shot. San Diego's got it.
And that's one of the toughest throws to execute in Frisbee. The end zone I.O., just allowing your receiver to make a break side cut and go get it. So, beautiful throw there by Helton. She's doing it all today.
Yeah, and Van Gunker did a really nice job of not slipping too early and leave that I.O. window open. Another great sequence out of San Diego.
Yeah, this is... You got to wonder what Arizona's going to be doing to try and change the momentum of this game, because it's clear that San Diego came in with a game plan that's really working, and Arizona's game plan, it might be time to throw it out the window and try something new.
Yeah, you see, Arizona has got to be frustrated right now because we're not seeing a lot of failures on the X's and O's side, but we're seeing just little drops, little throw executions, throws slightly behind, or maybe players a little bit out of sync. Be interesting to see if they can find their groove and what kind of game this turns into once that happens. But until then, San Diego up 11-3 in the second quarter. 8:48 to go as they pull and play defense. And that's going to be out of bounds. O'Connell to pick it up.
I'm not going to be in the front. No way.
Again, Arizona just needs to find a little bit of offensive rhythm. We know how hot this team can get so quickly. So it's just going to be about delivering a couple body blows and finding their momentum, hopefully going into halftime.
O'Connell. Offer by K-Spa. Eifert in the open lane, check by Diaz. Kaiser now. Pushed back a little bit. She's got a break side shot. She's got it to Eifert. Eifert crowded by a really terrific mark by Diaz. O'Connell, no option. She's just going to send it to Gazelle. And Gazelle's happy to grab that one. And Pisani, Allison Pisani. Following the play, she's got a goal. Gazelle to Pisani. Talked about the Sidewinders being explosive. Here we are.
Yeah, and this is one you knew something was eventually going to fall for Arizona. Just a misread, it looked like, by Penny Wu. So Northern Arizona, now has the opportunity to come out on defense, try and get another turnover, and just let their D-line do some work. That's all you can hope for. That's all this team needs, really.
Yeah, I think Arizona just wants to keep its O-line off the field for a little while. Let the defense go to work. And from what we saw in the last defensive sequence, they look like they're going to be overlapping those passing routes pretty aggressively.
And speaking of defense, you mentioned Alex Diaz and how well she was crowding Eifert on the mark. That was going on everywhere. There was no place for Helen Eifert, one of the best Arizona offensive players, to go where Diaz wasn't going to be close behind.
Here we go. We're going up to Helton. A little too far. Helton trailed by Dunn. Dunn's got to be letting out a sigh of relief on that one. It looked like she wasn't going to be able to catch up to that one. Here's Powell. Fantastic defense by Jones. Face guard, but locking down Petty for the Arizona Sidewinders. Now giving her team a very short field. Helton ISO, Helton goal.
I think the key to that break, or that score for San Diego, is that front of the end zone defense that we saw from Helton. Lippincott got wide open. Helton managed to jump into the lane as the handler mark just in time, and all of a sudden Arizona had to find a whole new angle to attack. And in the limited time that you have, once you have made up your mind, it's very difficult as a frisbee player to kind of turn around and reassess the situation once you think you're out of one.
Yeah, and I have to keep wondering, watching these dump sets with the Sidewinders, where is the next option in the backfield? You know, we see a really well-covered person in the backfield, and there's no other options. Now, with a 7-second stall count, you just don't get the same dump set progression, obviously. But Arizona needs to generate. If the primary dump is going to be shut down like that, then it seems like they've got to come up with an answer here. They're not going to be scoring very many points today.
And, well, after that opening weekend with the dominance, like we mentioned, that we saw from Chang and Applegate, it might be easy to go and say, hey, we have our plan. It seems like the rest of the league has kind of recognized that.
Yeah, and that was Petty, who's a very difficult player to contain, very fast. Here's Garrett, not able to bring that one in.
And now it's just mental errors. It looked like San Diego early was making Arizona make a lot of difficult decisions, but now Arizona's making a lot of mental errors.
Yeah, defensive stops where no San Diego player is getting the credit for the defensive stop. Here's Landry trying to go no around, and that's going to be effective today. Arizona's got a turnover.
Pass sails out of bounds and incomplete.
And now we do see three handlers in the handler set: Chang, Applegate, and Kaiser, all lining up.
Applegate directing traffic. That stack on the Sidewinders is very deep. She's going to find Chang. Chang's got to be shopping that end zone. She's going to send it to the break side. It's K-Spa. K-Spa's got it. Not quite.
And just another mental error, another slight lapse by the Sidewinders that could cost them.
Arizona's got all the pieces, but the passes just aren't being completed today. We wonder what halftime's going to look like for them. But these appear to be concentration rather than tactical issues. For many of the turnovers, San Diego working it well. That's a terrific diving catch by San Diego. They're going to send it out to space. And they're able to just maintain possession incredibly well. It looks like there's going to be a timeout on the field for San Diego.
We'll see if there are going to be any substitutions here for San Diego, but it's been it's really been a great job by the San Diego coaching staff. You can tell that this team came in with a game plan, has executed it really well, has forced Arizona into some tough decisions. And by no means is this game over. Arizona has one of the hottest, can get very hot.
It just looks like San Diego is a little bit more comfortable. You notice on that last sequence with the San Diego handler set, Ishii being one of them. And I believe she's the one who had the disc when we called timeout. But whereas in the previous one there was a face guard and the pass was just kind of errant and too hot. In this one it was the same situation. The San Diego handlers were face guarded very well. But the throw and the delivery on the throw, the little technical things that make that throw catchable for the dump cutter, they're there for San Diego, and they're not there today for Arizona. Just an extra second or two hanging in the air. They're able to execute. So it's really about execution more than anything else. These teams look pretty well matched physically, they're both able to beat each other pretty well. And we are seeing some blocks and stops on defense, but the execution for San Diego has been superb today.
Absolutely. You know, with Arizona being the home team, you'd maybe think that they have a little more experience playing in these conditions with the disc, but it hasn't looked that way.
San Diego says the sun shines where we are too. Here's Penny Wu. She's gonna send it up high. It's all over the place. Looks like Dunn got her hand on it. That was quite a mix-up. It looks like the pass was intended for Savinsky, number 93, but a whole lot of other players got involved in that one as well. Arizona, here's Steiner. Steiner's going to send it deep. Looking for Lippincott. Lippincott against Ellie Melik. Helton grabs it. And that looks very close. Looks like number 20, Iwamoto, was able to save that one. Now she's going to go to work against Petty. Here's Steiner. Now San Diego's going to send it deep. This is Wu versus Powell. Wu's got it no problem. A great read by her. And that's going to be a goal. Caught by Anna Savinsky, number 93 for San Diego. Couldn't get her the first time. She's got it now.
Yep. And on that deep shot from Steiner to Lippincott that was intercepted by Melik, Lippincott...
Helton. I think Helton actually got the stat on that one.
Helton got the D? Or the goal?
Oh, I'm sorry. Savinsky got the goal.
Savinsky got the goal. Okay. Helton, you see how hard it is, even for Lippincott, who's an exceptional player, to match up with somebody in a 50-50 that's just bigger. It's very difficult, even if they misread the disc. Sometimes you're overcomplicating things in your own head. It's just one other piece to the equation that can really throw off a receiver. So,
yeah, I don't get the sense that that was the throw that they really wanted. I think Steiner had a high stall count. Yep. I think the dump was shut down again. Again, I think the pathway to disturbing the Sidewinders is to just mess up their dump set. She put it up there, but Lippincott was double covered, right? Helton was right behind her and was able to step in and help with the play. Applegate now receiving from Chang. She's back here with Kaiser. We can see that dump set pressure. That primary dump is seeing a ton of attention. They're having to use their secondary dump more frequently now. Here's Chang. Applegate doing whatever she can to get open now. Applegate's going to send it to Gazelle. Gazelle's got it. What a catch. Gazelle back to K-Spa. Chang now. Kaiser. Kaiser's got nothing right now. What a step by Applegate. Applegate trying for that inside out high release. Jones says no thank you.
Yeah, maybe just a case of trying to do a little too much there by Paige Applegate.
Here's Penny Wu, who's been excellent in the second quarter. Disc is going to go up on an away pass. It's going to be stopped. Melissa Steller running this one down.
And as soon as that disc hangs, you know that you're going to have a chance at it as a defender, and Melissa Steller does a great job of getting in a place where only she can make a play on it. So
Deanna Abrams had such a good cut. Wonderful recovery by Steller there. Going to be a pick call on the play as Arizona, a familiar sight, backed up on their own end zone line, trying to make something happen. 4-13 with 2:11 to go in the half. It's been a dream half for the San Diego Super Bloom. It has been frustrating for the Arizona Sidewinders as Chang sends it deep. She's looking for K-Spot a little bit too much.
Yeah, and if you're Chang, you might be thinking just holster that for another second, but with how smothering this San Diego defense has been, this is when you're going to start to force things. If you're Arizona, you're just in your own head and thinking about when you're going to get another opportunity like that.
Speaking of which, Looks like San Diego's also going to try to press for something late. It's not going to work out. And we've got Applegate coming back to pick up. She's joined by Kaiser in the backfield. It's going to be a timeout. Arizona's going to take a minute to think about it. Score is 4-13. Arizona can't afford to give up any more breaks this quarter. If they're going to try something, it's really got to start now.
Yeah. And I was going to say, this is the kind of point that really tests you as an ultimate player, where you're just going back and forth. Eventually, both teams just resort to throwing deep hucks to try to end the point, and it kind of becomes a mutual decision of, hey, whoever wins these 50-50s wins the point. But these are the points that can, in many games, decide them.
Yeah, concentration is something that it looks like the Sidewinders need to find. And actually, these are some uncharacteristic sequences by Super Bloom, who, I mean, we've mentioned have been so focused, and their execution has been so on point. We do wonder if they can hold on. We see a little bit of mental fade in this point in particular. Let's see if this is just a blip on the radar and they go back on track, or is this the beginning of Super Bloom starting to fade just a little bit? In order for that to matter, though, we've got to see the Sidewinders lock in. Let's see what they've got coming out of timeout.
Absolutely, and it looks like they're making a couple substitutions. Helen Eifert will be checking in.
Eifert's just one of those players who can be everywhere and do just about everything, and so difficult to guard.
That tattoo on her wrist helps because it makes her a little more intimidating.
Here we are with Chang and Applegate working in the backfield. The stack looks pretty far away right now for Arizona. All of these throws are going to be tricky. This isn't the first time we've seen the stack be a little far away for the Sidewinders. Again, back to these concentration issues. Can they dial in? Applegate and Chang can only buy so much time on a team against a team like the Super Bloom. Let's see what they can engineer here. Motion off the front of the stack. Here's Eifert. This is just what they needed. Eifert to Applegate. Now Chang, who's found some space. She likes what she sees for a minute, but decides to go back to the middle of the field. Here's Gazelle scooping it up. Gazelle, so athletic, has just been a great stopgap on some of these tense sequences.
Wow, and that's a stall.
That's a stall called.
Uncontested stall gives the dispatch.
Uncontested, 7 seconds comes at you fast. We've got 48 seconds to go in this quarter. And this clock is being adjusted. San Diego looking good. They're moving on the open side, looking basically uncontested. Sidewinders finally locking down. It's a wide open strike up line. It's almost in, but not quite. And there it is. Flipping it into the end zone to number 25, Samantha WUL. Assist by Stanbaugh.
And we saw Gazelle and Garrett with a little miscommunication there as they ended up double teaming the front of the end zone instead of putting on a stall count, giving the thrower a lot of extra time. You know, as a thrower, the clarity that you have of the field when there's not a stall count, when there's not somebody taking away half of the field, the ability to just sit there and watch everything as you can take it in, it really, really changes the game and makes it a lot easier. So
yeah, and let's talk about Lexa Stanbaugh for a second. She has had a great game so far. She seems to be everywhere her team needs her, and this is not the first time we've seen her be very effective on the end zone line. Her decision-making and discipline has been terrific. She pushes her team's advantage even further. Arizona has to be frustrated here. They've got seconds to go until the end of this quarter, and they're down by 10.
Yeah, this has got to be a frustrating game for Arizona. You got to, if you're an Arizona player, you have to be wondering when you're going to wake up from this nightmare almost. It's been really tough, and we're going to see if they can turn it around here.
Arizona coming down.
And this will help.
Looked like a very short pull.
Timeout, Arizona, their second and final of the half.
Looks like there's going to be a timeout, and that'll take back that goal. So for those watching, what happened was a very short pull by San Diego in an attempt to maybe generate another possession for themselves. Arizona picked it up and threw for a goal, but as soon as it was checked in by Arizona, the coaching staff of the Sidewinders called a timeout. That is why the Sidewinders have not scored. But it looks like the observers are talking it over about when the timeout was actually called, and we'll see what the impact is on the field here just momentarily.
I certainly think I heard the whistle prior to the release of the disc, but it is a very heads-up call there by Arizona. Oh. So San Diego opted to pull the disc like that to possibly get a pre-stall out of Arizona, and it looks like that was successful, as they now will have the disc at the front of their own end zone.
Okay, so Arizona unable to get there and check it in time before pre-stall was called. Now it's a free possession for them. And now they're just going to send it to Helton, one of their best weapons deep. Helton's got it. It's a terrific one-handed grab. She's got teammates downfield, but then she's just going to send it back. So much discipline for the Super Bloom. Penny Wu now. That nice upline combination. Helton, who was the deep threat, now back here as a handler. Powell not able to paw that one. Coming so close.
And time has expired, so this will be the last point of the half.
San Diego now working it close to the end zone. Helton now sending it out wide. It's a miscommunication. Maxfield able to get the block, but that will end the half. Looks like 4-14 is going to be our score for the half. Will, if you're San Diego, you've got to be happy with your execution. Just a couple slips there. If you're the Sidewinders, what are you aiming to do in this second half? Where do you start? Down 10.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it just has to be coming back to the fundamentals. They really, there have been momentary mental lapses, and that's what's allowed San Diego to really open this lead up. It's not a matter of if Arizona would be leading without a couple drops here and there. It's a matter of would Arizona be in a much better position, and they absolutely would. You see K-Spa drop something at the front of that at the front of the end zone. Chip Chang and Paige Applegate maybe miscommunicating a couple times on their resets. It's all this mental piece of the game that has slowly allowed San Diego to pull away from the Sidewinders. So it's going into halftime here, it's just going to be, hey, we need to hit the reset button. Let's just go out there, 0-0, play Frisbee.
Yeah, and the Sidewinders are still trying to make a case for being the best team in the conference, or if not the best team, at least the second best team, because it's only the top two teams in the conference that are going to advance to the finals. Sidewinders, irrespective of outcome for this game, cannot keep playing like this against San Francisco, who's really come on recently, and LA. And additionally, they're going to see this team again as well in the San Diego Super Bloom, who again looks as strong as can be today.
And we've talked about how important point differential is going into the postseason. This Arizona team, if for nothing else, has to be aware of the point differential, and as a team that made the playoffs last year on point differential, all that has to be going through their minds is, hey, we just got to stop the bleeding here. We just got to try and inch our way back, and if that doesn't mean we get a win, it means we lose by 2, it means we lose by 1, whatever. That's just, every point could be crucial down the stretch of this season.
Yeah, and it's fun to prognosticate from the booth, where we can think about the conference math. I can tell you right now, on the sidelines at halftime, the Sidewinders are not having a conversation about let's mathematically optimize this experience. They're having a conversation about how they can come back and win this game.
Absolutely. It is one thing to say that we can come back and win this game, and another thing completely with how this game has gone. Because it's one thing if Arizona is behind here because of a few, bad points, but it really feels like this 14-4 lead for San Diego is deserved. San Diego's come out, they've executed their game plan, they've played great Frisbee the whole way. And so this team is just playing at a high level, and Arizona now has to find a way to come out and match that.
Yeah, and a lot of these turnovers, they look like miscommunications and unforced errors, and to some extent I think we can see some of those, but there are plenty of errors that if we're just looking at them in a microscope, it might look like an unforced error, but then you see the whole field and you look at what situation Arizona's placed in offensively and just how tight the defense is by the Super Bloom. We're starting to see an accumulation of pressure here from the San Diego team, and it really is wreaking havoc on some of the most basic offensive sets where they know the pressure they're going to see. And so they're trying to escape it early, but sometimes escaping it early we see has some dire consequences.
Absolutely. And one thing that we haven't talked about too much is San Diego's downfield defense.
Who can talk into
it feels like there
Can
are
you hear me? Can you
points
guys
after
hear me?
point
Who can
where
talk into this mic?
Arizona has to work the
Where
disc
does the
back and
signal go?
forth within their handlers. And then all of a sudden, looking upfield just becomes not a viable option, really.
Yeah, and the defensive plan for Arizona, we see, I think Dina Elimelech has had a great game, fine by her standards. I don't think she has 1 million points today. But, still just able to be so effective and so dangerous. Messner has had a bit of a quieter game today than we've seen her play, but I think it's because Arizona is putting so much attention on her to try to stop her. But now we're seeing what happens, with the San Diego team. No matter what you do, you're going to be in trouble. Kayla Helton has stepped up now and has been a huge problem for Arizona. I feel like every consequential play that just kind of breaks the hearts of the Sidewinders, Kayla Helton has had something to do with it.
Absolutely. And another name that you threw in at the end of the first half, Lexa Stambaugh, has also stepped in really well, played great possession frisbee, done exactly what she needs to do to really help extend this lead. And we mentioned at the beginning of the game that this was going to be a game of who else on San Diego can step up. And I think they've pretty resoundingly answered, well, all of us can do that.
Yeah, I think in the booth we said, oh, this is a team with a few stars and then some players who work with those stars, and I think their message to us has been, I don't think so. I think we're a team of all really good players, and they've certainly shown that today.
This is what we call the commentator's jinx for those of you watching at home. As soon as we say anything is going to happen.
I mean, we know Helton is an incredible player.
Absolutely.
But the kind of early highlights in the season have seen a lot of traffic through a couple other players as well. But Helton has reminded us today that she is just an elite player, and there's just no good way to stop her.
Absolutely, and this whole San Diego team has really come in today with a fire and found a way to really show up and make this game. I don't know if Arizona was expecting this game to go the way that it has.
I think they certainly expected some of their passes to be completed at a higher rate. The completion rate on passes for the Sidewinders is feels like they just aren't quite themselves.
Absolutely.
This is by far the most out of sync we've seen them all season, and I think the real drama here in the second half is, when do they get off the mat? Mm-hmm. When do they start playing like the team? It's similar to, I think a lot of us were expecting San Diego Super Bloom to give the Seattle Tempest a closer game in that inaugural, or that kind of first season game. And when they didn't, I think people were scratching their head a little bit. But then every game since then, they have answered. And it will be interesting to see now with Arizona. This is by far the biggest deficit they've ever faced. Even the 2 games that they've lost, they've just been trailing narrowly, or were able to kind of catch up and add a lot of drama to that fourth quarter. I know they left both of those games thinking we should have won, but we could have won. Things look a little different in this game. Things look a lot more lopsided. They've never been in this situation this season.
I think if you're an Arizona person writing a recap of this game, trying to sit down and rethink it, it's going to be very hard to find a positive angle from the Sidewinders' perspective of that first half. But the reality is, for this team, we're here. We have to play 24 more minutes. Might as well make them good ones. And you can't focus on, we need 10 goals if you're behind in this situation. You never focus on how many goals you need when it's a game like this. If you're down by 1 or 2, you're sitting there, you're saying, hey, 1 or 2 breaks. But 10 goals is not, you're not sitting there talking about how you need 10 goals. You're sitting there and talking about how it has to happen one at a time. It's going to be an inch back and slowly make this game into a drama-filled fourth quarter.
Yeah, and as we're watching this game, I think it's important to remember that Arizona is a mentally strong team.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't seem that way right now because they're having kind of a messy first half, but let's not forget that this is a team that found its way into the finals last year and then came away with third place. This is a team that knocked Seattle off in their first matchup, or in their only matchup with them this season. They believe that they can win any game that they play, and we believe them too. So, the two losses previous to this, they never gave up, and they continued fighting to the end. Their play was pretty inspiring, and so we're not going to see this team give up. Like we had mentioned in the first half, this is not a team that's going to be thinking about the best way to lose.
Mm-hmm.
This is a team that, as they're over there under the tents, they're still thinking about a way to win this game.
Yeah, and you have, like you mentioned, you have so many experienced players on this team. Helen Eifert, obviously, Team USA player who's probably come back from something like this within her career. You have players like Cody Lippincott, who's had an exceptional club and professional career. We can go down the list of this team, and it's a good mix of young players, a good mix of old players, veteran players. And right now it's time for those veteran players to step up and say, hey, it's time for us to go make something happen. On the other side, San Diego, it's got to be a conversation of, here's what went right, keep focusing on that. There's very few negatives to take away from that first half. It doesn't mean that I don't think the coaching staff will let everything that happened off there, but it's got to be a reminder that, hey, something's going to go Arizona's way. I don't know if it's going to be a drop for us on our own end zone. I don't know if it's going to be a drop pull. I don't know if it's going to be 3 straight breaks. Something's going to go Arizona's way in the second half. And for San Diego, the conversation just needs to be, hey, we have the ability clearly to keep our lead, to build our lead, and to continue to do what we've been doing. So they're in a very good position, and no one is saying that Coach Angela Wells should be complaining, but
her team put such a good product on the field.
Yeah.
She's got to be elated.
It's got to be, but there's got to be that piece of the conversation of, hey, keep it calm. Something's going to go right for them. We just have to be ready for that, and we have to just keep putting the pressure on that we have. Keep playing the way we are.
Yes. If you're San Diego, it's not time to break out the grill.
Mm-hmm.
You're still in a frisbee game. You're playing some of the best ultimate we've seen this season out of any team. Even that part alone, I think, is just a very exciting thing. As I mentioned, their coach has got to be ecstatic with this. Obviously, not a perfect half, but such a good half. And again, a total team effort by this team has just been so impressive.
Yeah, it really has. I'm trying to think of a time where I've seen a team play as dominant in the Western Ultimate League in the 2 years this league has existed. And there's a couple times where
Seattle last season.
Seattle last year is the only team where you can make a comparison. And when you're comparing a team to an undefeated champion, I mean, that's got to feel pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, I think the Super Bloom goal this year was to make a statement, and they're making it.
They absolutely are. In this game alone, but like you mentioned, that first game of the year against Seattle, everyone was coming in expecting this is the game that Seattle's going to lose. This is the best matchup for Seattle. And it didn't end up being true, but this version of San Diego, it's hard to picture playing that same game and struggling.
And, importantly, Kristen Pajunas is not in a Super Bloom uniform today.
Mm-hmm.
And Pajunas is another one of those players who is just incredibly influential, incredibly skilled, both sides of the disc making a difference. She's not even here today. That's all that taken together. Again, we talk about how the Super Bloom is putting together a team effort. You look at this score and you ask, is Pajunas playing? You would say, oh, she must be.
It is crazy to see how some of these players have stepped up in Pajunas' absence, and it really is just, how has this team done what they've done against Arizona? I think people who aren't watching this game, live will have a really hard time looking at that final score sheet and maybe even believing.
Yeah, how do we even get here? Yeah.
But that being said, there's still a whole half of Frisbee to go.
That's right. So entering the second half, we've got kind of off-balance but explosive Sidewinders team who we know believes they can win this game. And they're going to be taking the field against the San Diego team who has shown us point after point after point that they are a very complete, well-coached and well-disciplined team and a force to be reckoned with in the conference and the league. We'll see if Arizona can knock them off balance and start getting some traction in this second half.
And perhaps somewhat luckily for Arizona, starting out on offense here, they get an opportunity to try and move the disc quickly up the field, score in an efficient manner, and that might just be all they need. Halftime is a double-edged sword because if they come out here and struggle, all of a sudden all those memories of the first half come flooding back. But if they can put out a different product here on this first point, it might be all they need to change the momentum around.
Here's O'Connell now in the backfield.
Junky look from San Diego.
Looks like Garrett. Now to O'Connell. O'Connell's going to send it up. She's looking for Kez Gazelle, number 42. Gazelle's got a great spot on it. She's able to get a hand on it, but I think she's calling contact from behind on 47, Penny Wu for San Diego.
Absolutely, and if you're Gazelle, having that much time seeing the disc float for that long, I think you would have preferred a direct throw, but looks like no contest here, so.
It did sail. Gazelle, who's been playing for about a year, phenomenal talent.
Absolutely.
You know, we love the way she went up two-handed, kept her composure. She's got Case Ball in the end zone. Case Ball's not quite in. Case Ball's going to flip it to Garrett. Garrett's got the first goal of the half for the Sidewinders. How about that?
If you could draw up the way that first play was going to work, that's picture perfect for Arizona. You waste less than a minute. You get the score, and now you send your defense out there. It's going to be a loaded D-line here. They're going to put as much firepower on this field right now as they possibly can.
I think you're right. I think, you know, as drawn up, they don't want the disc to hang as long as it did. But again, that's why Gazelle is on the field. She makes things happen. That was a strong take and ended up making all the difference.
So it looks like the D-line that they send out. This is probably the best D-line we've seen from the Sidewinders today.
It looks like plenty of weapons to get a block. And they've also got Steiner in there for some long range for a counterattack. Sidewinders, first deep point of the half. Can they get a block?
Beautiful pull there by Eifert.
San Diego looking like a horizontal stack. And now they're going to get jammed up a little bit. They're having to play catch with their handlers a little bit. Here's Jones, and it's going to be turned over. Lippincott with the block. Here's Ellis on the mark. She has had a terrific mark, number 9 for San Diego. Steiner trying to escape. Can't quite find Petty. Jones. San Diego back to trying to work it back and forth here. So much patience on their side. But Arizona applying a little bit more pressure here. More patient work by San Diego. Jones ripping across the front. She's open. Looked like she stepped upfield a little bit there. San Diego not bothered by the early pressure. Here's Jones. She's going to send it into the end zone. It's going to be for Eifert to knock away. Great block by Eifert. Pass intended for Jessica Wan. Eifert's coverage was good.
And that might just be a case of Jones trying to do a little too much. I don't think she had the space to make that throw. Even if Eifert wasn't there, there was another Sidewinder behind. So maybe just a little bit of a rush decision there.
All right, that's going to be a miscue. Again, Steiner. This is another turnover, Steiner to Petty. Having difficulty finding some rhythm there. And that's just going to be to Diaz. Open side. barbecue backhand. Nicely done by San Diego.
Talk about another player having a great game. Alex Diaz. Obviously, she's not going to get much more open than that in many other games in her career, but that's a player who's been letting her defense fuel her offense, and now here we are.
And that's not the first time we've seen Petty line up as the primary dump, and the San Diego defense on Petty has been a face guard. And every time the Sidewinders have seen a face guard, it seems like that results in maybe more turnovers than you'd expect on a face guard.
Especially at this high level of Ultimate. You know, you can play the low-level pickup games on a Monday night in a local park, and a face guard will work very well against some of the newer players. But
I mean, there's a ton of athleticism on these defensive assignments. I'm not surprised that a face guard is effective, but I think the Sidewinders have got to be frustrated that it's as effective as it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's a difference between having an athlete, a very athletic person face guard you. And,
yep.
You know. Here's Chang. She's able to find Garrett. Nice combination now back to O'Connell. Chang. Now to Kaiser. Kaiser to Landry. Landry's had a quiet game so far. She's been kind of operating in the underneath rather than stretching deep. And now Gazelle is streaking underneath. She's matched on Penny Wu. Here's Chang and Kaiser. They're working it well, looking more comfortable, Arizona. They've got Garrett wide open in the middle of the field. Garrett doing all kinds of stuff on Kayla Helton. O'Connell's going to send it deep to Gazelle. She's checked by Wu again. Gazelle tracking it. Great stop by Penny Wu.
And Wu did a great job of reading that disc as opposed to reading her person, finding the only space where Gazelle was going to have an opportunity to make that play and getting there first.
Really great coverage back there. Sidewinders back on defense. It's Cabriales handling back there with Wu. Oh, Cabriales just so open on that upline shot. And she's going to turn that power position into an attempt at an away pass. It's completed on a beautiful play to Horanik. San Diego looking to Iwamoto again, who just carves that defense. And it's going to be another San Diego goal. Jory Moore on the goal.
Interesting use of the scuba there on a reset by Horanik. That's not something you'll see every day, certainly, but
boy, the combination there with Cabriales getting power position and then just blasting it to Horanik. Mm-hmm. Again, these are not players where we've called their names very much today, but then right out of nowhere, here's Cabriales just blazing up line and then a dime downfield. And Horanik, for her part, made a terrific timing cut. A complete team, San Diego. They keep reminding us.
Absolutely. This team, the question coming into today, like we've mentioned so many times, was depth. And I feel at this point,
they got it.
That question mark has been turned into an exclamation point.
They got it.
Maybe two.
They got it.
Yeah, it's this team has played a really complete game. It feels like all their players are contributing at peak efficiency. And the player with the disc right now, maybe someone who we expected to see a little more from, but hey, Dana Elimelech will not complain.
We've got 5:15 with 7:09 left in the third quarter. Sidewinders still down by 10. They've been trading this half. Here's Applegate with a great cut. Always admire how Applegate can get open in the handler set. Here's Landry, who's playing more in the backfield than we've seen her in previous games. Here's Applegate sending it across to Eifert. Great cut by Eifert. Underneath now to Garrett. Oh, forgive me, that's not Garrett. That's Stellar again. And then a great goal. That's going to be done to Eifert.
And that's what this Arizona offense should be. You give Elimelech a little bit of a chance at a bid, ultimately goes nowhere, and just super efficient offense. The thing the thing for Arizona that I'd like to see is a couple more deep shots.
Yeah, I mean, on that one, we had Stellar just maintain great concentration, and then she opened things up for Dunn and Eifert. I think they've been more aggressive with pushing things deep, Arizona has. But yeah, it seems like the way to make this team uncomfortable is to continue testing them deep.
Yeah, keep pushing it. Especially, I mean, it feels like the height difference for is in San Diego's favor. But at a certain point, if you're Arizona, you just have to try and find something that works. You just have to throw the kitchen sink.
Yeah, so far it looks like the deep shots they've been able to generate have created some nice opportunities for them. And we know that Arizona would rather turn it over in the end zone than turn it over, on their own goal line. And here they are coming out on D again. Arizona looking for momentum.
You see Megan Maxfield here on the mark, one of Arizona's premier defenders.
Maxfield really giving San Diego a look downfield. Now they're going to swing it. Here's Kelly Iwamoto, who's going to blast it to Wu. Wu can't quite come up with that one. Powell on the coverage.
And that's just a case of a defender being there, and causing a little bit of extra thought.
I mean, I think maybe I'm a little biased, but I think that's the first turnover I've seen Iwamoto have this season. Here's Powell to Myland. Myland's got a whole menu of players going deep for her. She's going to play it safe. Send it back to Steiner. Steiner to Powell, barely escaping Penny Wu. And Powell is free. She's looking downfield. That pass is going to sail inside of Megan Maxfield. Back on the attack is San Diego. Now it's going to be a high flipping pass to Diaz. And Maxfield, some contact there on the lower body of Diaz. There's going to be a call.
And it looks like Maxfield just tripped. She won't contest that call. And just falls over, trying to keep in pursuit. And
yeah, this one's pretty cut and dry. We're just glad that there were no injuries after contact with that.
Absolutely. And there might be a little conversation here between the observers. Ultimately, I don't think there's enough there for a dangerous play call. It's just two players playing hard frisbee. Yeah, and it looks like even Diaz is saying.
Just a little garden variety tripping.
Yep.
Trying to recover here. Now it's going to be a really nice shot to Jones by Diaz. What a beautiful break side shot.
Yeah, and that might be the best we've seen this Arizona D-line move up the field all game. Is that one possession they've had, and that's got to help a little bit, but to still get scored on is just demoralizing. And San Diego continues to extend their lead just a little bit.
Yeah, we have 6:16 marked right now. I think that's going to be 6:17 by the time the scoreboard updates. We've got 4 minutes and 25 seconds to go in this third quarter, and it's all San Diego again. A bit of a trade back and forth, but a trade is bad for Arizona. Arizona needs to ignite to turn this into a more competitive game, and just trading out isn't going to be good enough right now.
It's hard to believe that they can win 10 points in a quarter, and this game's really starting to get out of control.
I mean, you know my opinion on this. I think they can score 10 in a quarter, but I live in Phoenix.
Only slight bias.
Only a slight bias. Garrett. Back to O'Connell. To Chang. We're seeing different handler packages on offense from the Sidewinders. They're not just sticking with the same group. They're mixing it up, trying to make it a little more difficult for the Super Bloom to dial in. Chang. Has Applegate up line. Applegate now with power position. No options downfield. She's going to send it back to the middle for Chang.
The middle of the field just gets so congested for Arizona when the disc gets moved there.
Landry now break side shot going deep to Garrett. Garrett has it. Here's a goal.
You just see this disc might have hung a little too much, a little more than intended, but Garrett nonetheless finds a way to be the first player to get there. Leslie Willis might have had a play on it, but Garrett's stepping towards the disc likely threw her off. Realized that's not a space where Willis could be. So great play there by the Sidewinders.
Garrett just creates so much when she's on the field. It's really something to be admired. You know, we saw her come underneath on that break side and then work a combination, and then we see her in the end zone making a high concentration play. Here we are, 7-17. Arizona back on defense with just 3.5 to go in this quarter.
What really worked there for Arizona was swinging the disc from side to side. They gained probably half the field just from that motion.
Yeah, it seems like there's not, at least on that sequence, we didn't see as much pressure from San Diego on that dump set. And in turn, we saw a lot more intensity from Arizona. Here's Helton making a terrific cut. She's got Jones, who's been magnificent today. Now it's going to be an IO blast downfield, and Lippencott's happy to bat that one away.
Yeah, and it looked like the angle she was aiming for was just a little more IO than a little more inside than what she got, but now Arizona has a chance again.
WUL has a real talent for finding weaknesses in defenses and just teleporting to those spaces. She's such a great player to watch, but Lippencott knew where that one was going too, and that's why it's a stat. And here's Douse making a diving grab. She's got Lippencott wide open in the end zone, but she's going to play it safe. Here's Steiner as Arizona struggles to get into position. Now Steiner's going to put it up there because it's a high stall count. It's going to be a 50-50. Can Lippencott make magic happen? She can. Lippencott with a goal. That's a break. Arizona possibly making something happen here.
And when I said Arizona didn't have the offensive fire, or the defensive firepower to get 10 breaks in a quarter, I'd like to specify there's still 2 minutes to go in this quarter.
Lippencott says, I've got bookends for you, Will.
And now Arizona, if they can convert this momentum, you heard the crowd starting to get a little bit into it. One thing about this Arizona crowd is they're certainly never going to get out of it.
No, not a chance. And, you know, just to, in so many games, completion like that, in that situation, that's just going to be an easy goal. That we see that point finish up in seconds. But you notice how well the transition defense on San Diego recovered and took away the first option, the second option, and then nearly got a stall. Mm-hmm. And so that goal was a prayer throw, and Lippencott made it happen, right? It's Steiner put it up there and knows where Lippencott is going to excel, and that's in the air. But
I believe there's another Arizona quarterback who knows when to find their favorite wide receiver in the end zone pretty well.
Here we are. This is Wu. Arizona showing a little bit of junk in the lane. It's working pretty nicely. There's 3 or 4 teal jerseys on that, but it still makes it through. We talked about transition defense here, and Arizona applying some, slowing down the Super Bloom. Nice upline by Jones, who's looked unstoppable today. Merrick trying to keep Jones on the sideline, and Diaz can't quite grab that one. Looked like time was ticking down and pressure was rising up.
7 seconds goes a lot faster than you expect it to, so that was an absolute bullet. Diaz did a good job just really to get to a hand to that one.
Both teams really giving it to one another on defense. And that's Pisani, who can't quite keep that one in her hands with the shin slide. Great play, just not a possession. Here's Dunn on the mark. She's checking Kelly Iwamoto.
Got to be aware of where Diaz is.
Here's Jones. Looks like the force has gone in 2 different directions now. That's going to be a flick. Attack, and Ellie Mellick is going to take off and grab it, and she's going to find Diaz. Another San Diego goal.
You just got to tip your cap there if you're Arizona. Ellie Mellick, one of the most special ultimate frisbee players that I've ever gotten the opportunity to watch. And sometimes when you're just that great, you just make things happen like that. It's no discredit to Sam Myland, who did a great job of being in the right position, and it's just there are some players that just transcend that level. There's all of these players are obviously pro, but it just, there are some players that can go a step above that, and Ellie Melick is one of them.
And we can see how close Arizona is getting a stop here. Multiple times now, the teal jerseys kind of swarming the lanes now. We're starting to see some of that familiar pressure on the passing lanes that we've seen in past games, especially late by Arizona. They're just there every time. San Diego able to make something happen, though. If they get 2 chances at the end zone, they're gonna put it in.
What works better for you?
Arizona, though, making things a little bit more intriguing on the defensive side.
And their offense has really picked it up this half.
Yeah, showing some different looks, showing some different kind of personnel packages. And they are, so far, able to not give up any more breaks. This has been obviously the deficit from the first half carrying over is one thing, but this has been a pretty compelling second half in terms of these teams playing with each other. Here's Garrett, who has been part of the solution. Here's Applegate trying to solve this zone that's just crowding the lanes and kind of daring the Sidewinders to just crowd up the field. Here's Gazelle, who's managed to find herself free on the break side, but her throw isn't quite accurate enough. She was looking for K-Spa, not meant to be. San Diego back on offense. Stall count's got to be getting high here. Nice save by San Diego, and now it's open side, break side action for them as it's a backhand force.
This will be the final possession.
Time has expired. This is going to be the last one of the quarter. Gazelle trying to grab it. It's going to be hauled in. Jory Moore with a great grab in the end zone there, but there's a pick call for a minute. Well, there are some times where it looks like the force keeps changing for Arizona. And I'm not sure if that's just trying to get around to stop the break, but it can be difficult to tell sometimes what their force is.
Yeah, I've noticed that as well. I'm wondering if it's part of the game plan maybe to force sideline, force middle some points. It's just...
Obviously, it could be that I'm just not very smart. However, it does look like the force is a little inconsistent. They're paying the price here. Moore with a great grab. Let's see what the observers decide as the final position of the disc.
On the point of intelligence, you and me both, brother.
All right, that's going to be a goal.
All right.
Goal called on the field. Moore gets to keep the stat. Great grab by Hertz just as well. That's the end of our third.
And Arizona goes an entire quarter without getting broken, even leading in breaks that quarter until the very last moment. That's just got to be demoralizing if you're the Sidewinders.
Well, again, this is a team that I think is a team of belief, and it's definitely a team that has many more games to play and has lofty goals for the conference. I think they've got to be pretty happy with staying with this team for this quarter. They know this is a piece of something else. Now, as for can they get 10 breaks in the fourth quarter, well, we're just going to see.
Yeah, you want to make a little gentleman's wager?
I will write something on a piece of paper and slide it across the table to you.
Oh, man, this is way more serious than I ever thought it would be.
High drama here.
High expectations here.
Lopsided score so far as we round out the third and look to begin the fourth. It's been a real treat watching San Diego Super Bloom do what they do and put in such a complete team effort. It has yet to be determined which Arizona Sidewinders team is going to show up in this fourth quarter, but we know they believe that they are still in this. As ambitious as that sounds right now, this is a team that's going to try for it no matter what the clock or the scoreboard says.
And we know how explosive this team can be. For me, the question isn't really about the Sidewinders even. It is really about San Diego, because the Super Bloom have controlled every aspect of this game to this point. It is... I agree with you that there is a version of this Arizona team that certainly can score 10 points, 11 points in a quarter. But the real question is, will San Diego give them that ability?
Yeah, I mean, they just proved to themselves that they can play with this team by trading out or even leading a break for this quarter. Long road, though, in this game. Let's see what they bring together. They're going to start on defense, which has been their strength this season. as I mentioned, generating plenty of blocks, although not as many blocks this game as we're used to seeing them generate. Let's see if they can flip the switch and start piling on some stops. That's going to be the way they're going to find their way out of this game.
All right, fans, it's the final quarter of the day.
And this
Let's
fan,
make some
this,
noise and cheer on.
these stands are not going to allow this team to lose easily by any means. We know that win or lose, this team has a crowd behind them that's going to be quite rowdy.
Eifert with the pull. Yeah, that sound you hear is actually the bleachers vibrating from people stomping it. San Diego, look at the backfield motion just right away. Ellie Mellick now on the open side, checked by Lippincott. Lippincott trying to keep her from moving it upfield. Iwamoto back to Stambaugh. Stambaugh to Iwamoto. Iwamoto's got an open receiver off the front of the stack. And now Diaz has a wide open receiver in the end zone. That's going to be caught for a goal.
And that's Teresa Zettner getting open against Megan Maxfield. Certainly a matchup that is very difficult, but Zettner's done a great job so far. And man, the patience of that Super Bloom offense. They had 3 or 4 shots where they could have gone straight to the end zone from half field, but instead they decide to work it, find a matchup that they like, find the spacing that they like, and it works out.
You know, we talked about execution for the Super Bloom team. It's not a windy day in Arizona, but down on that turf, it's not like playing indoors. It's not completely flat. I just want to call attention to just, you know, some of these touch throws that they're executing out there to make things look easy. You know, they're attacking up. What we just saw, right, was Zettner. That was not the biggest window in the world. And that was running away from her handler. Just, you know, is it the most difficult throw in the world to make? No. But are they just executing these at a very high ratio? Yes. And point after point, possession after possession, that's just been such a big difference. Technically, they have been so excellent.
And if I can go to the point of the wind real quick, sometimes that very low wind is even more dangerous than the high wind because you don't feel like you have to worry about it.
Sure. Speaking of trying things, there's Gazelle. We talked about K-Spot being so dangerous with her ability to throw it deep.
It's a perfect throw. Puts it out into space. The dip, you see how the disc falls perfectly back, and that is inch perfect, exactly where you want it.
Yeah,
falls at a great rate too.
That was good coverage by San Diego, but it's really hard to get to the break side on that back shoulder if that's where it decays, and Gazelle read it perfectly. So great execution by Arizona there. It's 2 good sequences in a row on offense for these teams. Arizona needs a stop on defense now.
Time for this D-line to go out there and make their money.
I think we can see Arizona stacking the deck again with some very talented match defenders here.
The length of Steiner, the explosiveness of Maxfield and Lippincott.
Steiner with the pull. You know, it's not too windy, but if you show the face of the disc to the wind, it looks like it is affecting it. That's not the first time going this way we've seen it pop up.
Yeah. And again, it's just sometimes the mental aspect of dealing with this low wind. You think you can make anything happen, and then the wind affects it in the
it's just
slightest
surprising
way.
And now that's just going to be directly to Petty, who's going to tip it to Helton on accident. Helton, great heads-up play. She's going to backtrack to Iwamoto. Iwamoto to Ellie Mellick. Ellie Mellick is just going to release that now and go back downfield. Helton's just going to flip it up. San Diego goal. That's Ellis. Great take to the end zone there.
And Lippincott doing a great job there with Ellie Mellick. Only allowing the 1 touch, and you know, it's just such a tough matchup.
Yeah, we talked about, you know, if you try to contain Ellie Mellick and just give her 1 touch and then she's not allowed to kind of run across the field and get that kind of close to end zone position that's so favorable. The Helton comes up with that high release flip. Terrific play. And Ellis, for her part, right, the timing on that is just, anticipating that quick release. Again, little things, but they add up, and San Diego's got the advantage to show for it.
And we see the fans doing a little bit of the wave right now. Again, a fan base that's quite hardy is not going to go down easily by any means. And a mascot that is worthy of that fan base.
Striker, the snake, showing out for the fans. It's 9-20. We've got 10:09 to go in this game. We're in the fourth quarter. Sidewinders looking for answers. O'Connell to Gazelle. Gazelle to K-Spa. K-Spa thinking about it. She's going to go back to Chang. Here's Kaiser.
If you're Kaiser, maybe look one more swing. Chang's certainly looking for it.
What a throw by Chang, who just lulls everyone into thinking she's going to swing it again and just rips things open with Garrett. And now a hammer throw to Gazelle. No, it's Garrett. Garrett's got it. Garrett's found another way. Yet another way to be effective in this game. Carly Garrett with another goal.
And Chip Chang has surely woken up in this fourth quarter. Arizona's offense exploding, but they need to get some momentum on defense in order to close this gap between them and San Diego.
Terrific sequence by Chip Chang. First with lulling them to sleep a little bit with that, baiting the swing pass and then just sending it right upfield.
I thought she could have even gotten it a little wider. Landry was open on the wing, but it was that was the right decision to just get the disc up the field, move as quickly as you can, and we're going to see what this Arizona D-line can do this time.
The Arizona offense learning a little bit about how to finally bypass some of the pressure they're putting on the backfield. Arizona looking for blocks now. With just 9.5 to go, they need a lot of them. There's a fair pull. Arizona looking for pressure. Pressure fast. It's going to sail. Here's Thomas trying to cover. She's able to come up with a stop. There is going to be a call on that.
It looked like Thomas might have just gotten a hand on the back, and that's what she's contesting here, but
Helton's case is that there was a little bit of contact on her hands, but we'll get some resolution in a moment about where that contact was and did it constitute a foul.
And the observer trying to get them both to come to an agreement.
Looks like a contested foul. It's going to be sent back.
It's great defense there by Thomas to just get where she needs to be and go make a play.
Reminded of an earlier sequence where Helton was able to kind of hold off Thomas and get a goal. This time, I think Thomas made a great play. Merrick on the mark for Arizona Sidewinders. Iwamoto now sending it back to the middle. Cabriales. She's going to send it across the field to Ellie Mellick, who's wide open.
The pick was called.
Stoppage of play. Two players collided with one another, causing a pick. We're going to send the disc back. Thomas making the case. There's a reason Ellie Mellick was so open. Here's Helton scanning downfield. Here's Cabriales, who's been very accurate today. There's Helton checked by Eifert. Helton's going to send it to Ellie Mellick, who's guarded by Thomas. It's a perfect pass. It's a goal. Dina Ellie Mellick coming on strong in this fourth quarter.
And there is not much that you can do against a throw like that if you're Cynthia Thomas. You have to be very aware of what you're taking away and what you're giving up, and that's just a situation where the throw was inch perfect.
Yeah, back in that situation, even if Thomas is right on her body, that's going to be a tough play. Danged if you do, danged if you don't. Guarding over-under on Dina Ellie Mellick. Sidewinders looking to recover. More lopsided than they want it to be. But Will, the breaks have all come in the first half.
Yeah.
The second half, they're playing a perfectly matched game.
It certainly has been a tale of two halves, and Arizona's going to wish that it was a tale of just one of those. But
yeah, I think if you're Arizona, you're starting to kind of understand that you've got something now where, you know, it's not a turnover every 2 throws. You're finally able to play some ultimate, and it's good ultimate.
And they are playing with 3 handlers, like you mentioned. That's going to be big.
This is great pressure on the dump set. Again, this is just in the hip pocket, nearly face guarding, flustering those dump lanes for the Sidewinders, and it pays a dividend. Now it's going to be raking across the field. Here's Carly trying to grab it. Carly Garrett. Great stop there for her. Here's Landry to Applegate. Applegate's going to flip it to Chang. Chang, who, as you noted, is starting to feel it in this fourth quarter. Let's see what she's got. Defense is just tight. Backfield and downfield. Nice break throw there to free up Gazelle. Sidewinders are at a slow pace for scoring right now. Now it's going to be a hammer. We're looking for K-Spa. Such concentration by K-Spa. Now to Garrett. We've got Landry streaking deep. Garrett's found Landry. Can Landry grab it? She can't. A little too far for Landry, who is fast, but...
And there's got to be a level of frustration building now for Arizona, where they're just seeing their offense continue to sputter. And that's what's leading to a lot of these rushed throws. So...
Here's a turn. Arizona's going to get another chance. Arizona's putting some pressure on as well. You know, San Diego has quietly put together an amazing defensive performance without getting a lot of blocks. Their defense has been terrific. Just smothering. And now here's Applegate with a hammer to K-Spa. K-Spa's got it.
3 for 3 for Applegate on hammers today. Again, just as reliable as the dump.
The recipe is hammers, apparently. Again, you know, a testament to the skill of the players in that sequence, right? Applegate, you know, able to find K-Spa. These are great players. But that these are our options indicates just how good the coverage is downfield by San Diego.
Yeah, and Arizona being a little more ambitious as time goes on, it feels like.
I think they're just playing a little bit more free. I mean, even that turnover that we saw where we had, you know, Garrett looking for Landry, this was a terrific decision. Just didn't quite happen. But, you know, the offense was effective after being bottled up for a little bit. But then after they got a kind of jailbreak with that hammer, we see good offense.
Yeah. This Arizona team, perhaps one of the most creative that we've seen in a very long time. Obviously, Chang and Applegate now, I guess they both have had hammer assists. Applegate makes it 2.
Arizona looking for blocks. They're on defense. We got 5 minutes and 15 seconds to go in this game.
Oh.
It's 11-22, San Diego advantage. Here's Iwamoto blasting it to Helton. Helton looks wide open. This looks dime accurate. That is going to be a goal for Helton. Iwamoto to Helton.
Wow. This San Diego team has just come in as, wow, what a throw. It can't be much better than that.
Yeah, and it looks like a sequence just right off the reception. They knew exactly what was going to happen. They were going to try to get Iwamoto in power position, and then Helton came under for just a couple steps, and that gave her a free release to the middle of the end zone.
Yeah, and, you know, it's something that we've seen from Helton. Her deep options are very abundant, and this San Diego team is just feeling it in every aspect of the game right now. Yeah. They have the confidence to throw it wherever they want, to whoever they want, and there's not much that Arizona can do to disrupt the flow of the San Diego offense right now.
Yeah, having seen every game they've played this year, this is the best they've looked. Hands down. Them beating the Onyx in nearly overtime by 1. It was a really dramatic sequence where Mesner caught the winning goal. That was dramatic, and it was thrilling, but this is such a convincing performance by San Diego today. Here's Applegate. Applegate working up the middle to Landry. Here's Applegate charging upfield. She's got power position for a minute. She's looking at O'Connell. O'Connell has Gazelle going deep, but she's going to sail it just a little too high for Garrett, who was open, but looked like the wind took that one. Arizona's got to act fast. They're looking for a stop now. Here's Garrett.
Great move there.
San Diego looking for options here. Cabrialis with a terrific upline cut and save. She's going to blast it into the end zone, and it's going to be defended by K-Spot. Looks like pass was intended. I believe it was Zettner. Applegate breaking the mark. She's got O'Connell. O'Connell, it looks like it just sailed through her fingertips. There's going to be a foul on the throw. It'll be coming back. We've got 23 for San Diego, 11 for the Arizona Sidewinders. We've got 3 minutes and 47 seconds left. Here's Garrett. I see Carly Garrett running around out there, and it just does not look like she ever gets tired.
Nope.
Here's K-Spa. This is tough. She's got it.
Great grab. The concentration.
Here's Carly Garrett. To Gazelle. Arizona looks like they might have something here. Here's Kaiser. She's going to send it to Applegate, and there's a timeout from the sideline.
We'll stay with Kaiser.
The decision to call a timeout here sends a message, don't you think, Will?
I personally am not a huge fan of it. I think that Arizona offense was finding a way to move down the field. They had just started to make to gain a little bit of forward momentum, and were really starting to move. But nonetheless, I think giving your team the opportunity to maybe get another group of players out there, or at least to allow everybody, except Carly Garrett, who doesn't get tired, of course, to get a little bit of a rest. That's something that Arizona might feel they need right now.
Yeah, they're taking every point seriously.
Yeah.
You know, we've got 3 minutes and 12 seconds left. The deficit is pretty significant. It's double digits. And we got a timeout call with an opportunity to score more points. So you know the attitude of the Sidewinders is play until the bell rings.
Mm-hmm.
Here's Applegate to pick up. Looks like that timeout was just to get a breath, not change personnel.
Yep.
We've got the same group of players on the field as we did before.
I'm curious to see what force San Diego chooses to go with. You have two very good players on the active side in Landry and Garrett, but Garrett's been a significantly more effective thorn in the side of San Diego. I wonder if the choice to force middle here would be to get the disc to Landry instead.
Here we are. Here's Applegate to Landry. You called it, Will. Can she bring it in? She's got it terrific just out of her hands. A terrific attempt by Landry.
Yeah, and it's really difficult as a receiver to make the catch when the disc is falling away from you like that. Great effort there by Landry to just get a hand to that, because if she had caught that with the way she put her toes down, that was certainly in.
Yeah, if anybody had any fireworks in their bag in the stands, they would have been lighting them off there. But here's Helton. She's going to blast it to Ellie Melick. Checked by K-Spa. K-Spa thought she had it, but what a grab by Dina Ellie Melick, who just came around. She's got Helton. Helton's going to just put it out to space for Stambaugh. And here it is. Stambaugh with a great slashing cut to the back line. Really great transition offensive sequence there.
As a thrower in Helton's position, you love to run the fast break where you see one side of the field completely open and you just put it out to space and let your receiver go do their thing. Stambaugh, a name that we haven't called as much in the second half, had an incredible first half, but it's good to see her get back on the board.
I'm shaking my head. How good is Kayla Helton?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just again and again, she's the one who sent it downfield and then ran down her own throw. And then after all that, with how long this point has been, still has the composure to just put it on a dime for her receiver, for Stambaugh in that back line. That's not a gimme throw. She's got to get it around the defense and then not throw it out of bounds. And we've seen Disc going this way, but she's got the concentration and the fitness to just pull that off. That is such an impressive sequence there.
Well, and one of the things that makes her so dangerous, like you mentioned, is the fact that as soon as that disc is out of her hands, she's moving. She's going and finding where she should be next. And as someone guarding a handler, that is one of the hardest things to stop.
And we're talking the fourth quarter of a hot day. This has just been terrific. Arizona looking to make something happen on offense. Here's Eifert. Maxfield. One handler gone. Time expiring on that stall count. It's going to be a turn. That stall count, the enemy of the Sidewinders today. Plenty of team defense for San Diego.
Yeah, across the board, great defense. I know we focused a lot on the reset defense, but part of this is not allowing Arizona any looks upfield.
Arizona with another chance. San Diego looking for something deep. Didn't quite work out for them. Here's Steiner, who's got great range and a good vocabulary of throws. She finds Dunn. Now Steiner is going to work with Powell here. Pick called on the field. We're going to have a stoppage until players can catch up.
Clock continuing to wind. Just a minute 21 to go. Arizona will look to close the gap as much as they can here.
Steiner working with Powell. Powell in the middle of the field. She thinks about it on the break side. She's got Eifert open on the open side. Eifert's going to send it. She's got Petty. Petty diving to the turf. Can't get that one. 1 minute remaining in this game. It's 24 San Diego, 11 Sidewinders. Here's Penny Wu picking up for San Diego. If we take a look right now at the players here, the fatigue we talked about being so impressive when players push through it, we can see it being pretty obvious right now on the turf. Players leaning, players trailing. This has been an exhausting game. Here's a stop. Steiner and Eifert converge on it. Seifert's going to put it up for Dunn. Dunn's got it.
Great throw, great defense there by Carly Steiner and Melissa Dunn to have the field awareness to know exactly where to be as soon as that turn happens.
Arizona remembering once again that they're a good frisbee team.
It doesn't feel like today has been an example of Arizona being a bad team by any means. This has been an exceptional showing by a great frisbee team in San Diego.
I think Arizona would like to see several points come back for some of these concentration or execution errors. I think in the first half that put them in a pretty early hole. But this is not a case of Arizona just fumbling their way towards a loss. I think you take a look at what San Diego has put on the field, and it has just been so impressive. And those two things together, and this is why we have the score that we have.
If I can have a moment to talk to the people who do the WUL tier list at the beginning of every week that shows up on my timeline, this is a clear case as to why San Diego should be moved into S tier.
S tier.
S tier.
Arizona playing for now, playing for some momentum into their next game. Eifert to pull. Their defense wants another look. Their defense wants blocks, irrespective of result. San Diego, a bit of a miscommunication. Great pressure by Merrick there on defense. San Diego, a taste of their own medicine on that sequence.
It's just a little lapse in judgment. We've been waiting for one.
Pick on the play.
Here's Powell. Powell's going to send it to the open side. She's got Lippincott. Lippincott looking break. Not happy with that so far. She's just going to dip it over to the side to Maxfield. And to Powell. Great run by Merrick. She'll be looked off. Here's Maxfield in the backfield. She's going to dive and make sure that one's secure. Back to Powell, who's doing a terrific job swinging it across the field. Just misses Merrick. I'm not sure if Merrick thought that was hers.
And that will conclude the game.
We've got zeros on the clock, and that's a turnover. That'll bring us to the end of this one. San Diego 24, Arizona 12. It was all San Diego in this one, Will. A terrific team effort by them.
Absolutely. It really was just a great showing by the San Diego Super Moon today. They came in with a game plan. They executed. They allowed the game to flow through them, and by the end of the game, they were feeling their momentum and just allowing it to carry them point by